Thank you. Mr. Duffy.
My name is William Duffy, and I am here testifying on behalf of the unborn babies that this bill says can be killed with, quote, instrument, agent, or drug. This bill might be the worst bill in the history of the country. And that's saying something, considering the United States Supreme Court actually issued a ruling that said blacks were only 3/5 of a person. But this bill is worse. This bill says all human beings who have not yet been born don't have the fundamental right to life. Since no one on the committee has yet voted for or against this bill, I'd like to know, what side of history do you want to come down on? Do you want to join those who ignored science and reality and said blacks were 3/5 of a person? Or do you want to be known as someone who did not deny science and reality and acknowledged the basic truth that life begins at fertilization and these unborn human beings need to be protected? The choice is yours. I'm very passionate about this issue because I care about others and protecting others. And I'm going to do everything legally in my power to make sure anyone on this committee or in the Colorado legislature who votes for this bill will have a tarnished legacy as someone who had the opportunity to do the right thing and protect innocent life, but instead chose to come down on the side of ignoring an entire class of human beings, not too dissimilar to those who did not stand up for blacks. The first step I took in holding anyone accountable for supporting a wicked bill like this one is I purchased the web domains of your names. That's right, Madam Chair. If you grab your phone right now and go to SusanLaunteen.com,
Keep your comments limited to the
you
bill.
will see that I own it.
Mr. Duffy, please keep your comments to the bill.
When you do the right thing, you don't worry about something like this because people who do the right thing end up on the right side of history. But those who fail to protect the innocent, especially those in a position of governmental authority, must be exposed. And my intent will be for anyone who votes for this to be remembered for voting to kill babies in the womb. Any questions?
Already about the applause rule, you can do the non-verbal, but please do not applaud. Okay.
Hold on a second. Howdy, y'all. Professor Parks, PhD here. Since I went early, I'm online earlier than I had advertised. I'm going to be playing that video again, and I'll be commenting on it later. That video is one of the reasons, one of the contributing factors to why I decided to put out a video, I guess, a couple nights ago, and why I also put out a short today with regards to Mr. Duffy. But if I haven't already said it, I am Professor Parks, PhD, and I put out content on astronomy, science skepticism, and mental health. And but today is going to be mostly about, actually the last one, mental health, specifically mine, because it is relevant to this discussion. I hesitate to use mental health for that because mental health is a loaded term, and people might just say, oh, well, he's crazy then if he has these viewpoints, or any viewpoints that he shares during a moment of passion can be disregarded because he's, fucking crazy. But I'm also going to be talking about young earth creationism and obviously Mr. Duffy and all that kind of good stuff. So for the next 10, 15 minutes or so, let me just highlight a few things about young earth creationism and how I feel about it and so forth. So Mr. Duffy, in that sense, has claimed to be on the side of science. In his when he discusses flat earth, he also claims to be on the side of science. Young earth creationists, even within my own comment sections, believe that this is a scientific worldview. It is not. I would go so far as to say it is even less of a scientific worldview than flat earth is, because at least flat earth has certain observables that unless you understand things like refraction, can easily lead one to believe that the earth is flat. Namely, we can see too far. There is no aspect of young earth creationism, that would tell the average person, or indicates to the average person, that the earth is 6,000 years old. That is almost exclusively, to the point that I do not know of an exception to this. This is exclusively a Christian standpoint. There may be some other religious denominations out there who also subscribe to this idea, but I have never found an atheist who subscribes to young earth creationism, because it has such roots in biblical tradition. And I have a serious problem with that, as both a scientist, but more specifically as a Christian myself. I've mentioned before many times, probably many times, that the way that I reconcile my faith is that with science, is that science and faith are asking similar questions that are adjacent to one another, but the two are not built to look at the other. I do not use science to understand the nature of God. I do not use faith. I do not use the Bible to understand the nature of quantum mechanics. The two are just not this. It's like using a flathead screwdriver, or it's like using a Phillips screwdriver on a flat-headed screw. Yes, Phillips head screwdriver is a tool. It is a legitimate tool, but it is not one that fits this particular problem and should not be used in this particular context. Young earth creationists, in my experience, range the gambit in terms of what young age means. If you're a strict interpretationalist, you are going by the genealogy as stated in the Bible, and so the earth is only 6,000 years old, and modern humans have only really been around since 4,000 years old, because there was that whole flood business that killed off everyone but 8 human beings, and so civilization had to start off again from there. This contradicts basically the entirety of the fields of geology and astronomy. And I'm not a biologist, and I will be perfectly frank. I find biology to be exceedingly boring. I would much rather do chemistry, and that's saying something. Or psychology, because at least there you get to mess with people in a humane, ethical way. So it's not my cup of tea. Not to disparage biology. It is a tremendously important subject. I just find it boring. Anyway, but I will say, not being a biologist, I will say that my impression of that is that young earth creationism basically is contrary to the entire field of evolutionary biology and probably biological concepts beyond that. But again, not a biologist. We have terrestrial dating of soil samples. PhD Tony is the perfect person to talk about this, but things such as stratification of mineral layers, of tectonics, of how plate tectonics operates, on radiometric dating of soil samples, all of this negates the even possibility of the Earth being anywhere in the neighborhood of a few thousand years old. Some astronomers that I've encountered who are also creationists will extend it a bit and go about 10,000 years. But again, science doesn't bear that out. From an astronomical standpoint, again, we have radiometric dating of meteorites. And in the theme of today, these meteorites are found primarily in Antarctica, because the meteorites tend to be black in color, and Antarctica, as we have seen in the final experiment, tends to be pretty white. And so they're easily found there. Also, the material, the composition of the soil in those regions is very disparate from the material of the rock. So there is no terrestrial mechanism via which these rocks, these meteorites, would be in that location, unless you subscribe to some kind of cabal that is literally planting them. Perhaps it's the penguins, in their off time when they're not guarding the 69th parallel or whatever the hell it is. They go around and just, place iron and nickel deposits everywhere. Who knows? Maybe we need another trip to Antarctica to figure that one out. These preclude the idea of a universe that is 6,000 to 10,000 years old. Astronomers at one point thought the universe was roughly around, or at least the sun was roughly around 250,000 years old, because we didn't quite understand how the sun produces energy. We now understand it is through nuclear fusion, which, by the way, means that given the observables of the sun, its mass, its luminosity, its radius, gives us the age of the sun, and thus the unit of the solar system, to be about 4.55 billion years old. I actually wanted to look up a recent paper so that I could give you an error bar on that, but perhaps I'll do that in a different stream. Back in the day, one of the ideas behind the power generation of the sun was gravitational collapse. But a very quick back of the envelope calculation will tell you that if that is the case, then the sun can be no older than 250,000 years. But it's certainly not younger than 10. You have light travel time. There is so much evidence that precludes the Earth as young that it is not scientific in any way to hold that belief system. There is no evidence to suggest that these things are factual. All of the young Earth creationists, all the creationist evidence that I've seen, and young Earth and creationism, because those are two somewhat different subjects. Young Earth is basically talking about, obviously, the age. Creationism is talking about how life was created and how it has evolved. Basically, it is the denial of evolution. In both of these situations, they employ similar tactics to flat Earth, in that they are not coming up with a new model to explain positive evidence. They are simply attacking established facts or established data that has been collected. For example, they will claim that certain elements or certain dating is off because of contamination, or that the process itself doesn't work. They will deny certain aspects of natural selection. They will attack the process. They will not progress the field. They will simply attack what is established, or in some way try to explain what has already been learned. It certainly does not seek to answer new questions, which is fundamental to science. It's fundamental to the progress of science. It is fundamental to the seeking of truth. And so that, ladies and gentlemen, is one of the reasons why I got so fucking pissed, and why I'm still a bit irritated, because the enemy of my enemy is not my ally. I will not align myself with folks whose belief systems are contrary to mine. I particularly will not align myself in the context, within the same context, that being critical thought and the accuracy of scientific endeavor. Yes, Mr. Duffy does not believe the Earth is a sphere. Congratulations. You are on the same level as a 5th grader or a 6th grader. But that doesn't excuse everything else. And I honestly don't think people should platform him in that way. People can platform the final experiment. The final experiment, for all of the faults that I have with it, or all the problems I have with it conceptually, is good. Put out great data. Dave McKeegan, the stuff that I've seen it with him, with his sunspot analysis, it's bang on. I mean, don't get me wrong. I am not in any way bashing the final experiment. the experience itself, the data that has been collected, the experience that has been collected with it. So as Greater Sapien said, let's keep FTE. Let's not keep Will Duffy. As I said in my short earlier today, howdy Clive, we're not talking about aliens, although you might think so. I will be mentioning God a few times. As I mentioned in the short, kind of forgot. As I mentioned in the short, I would like him to be engaged about his young Earth creationist beliefs. I know he doesn't really talk about it on the tubes, but he believes it. It's common knowledge that he believes it. And, well, I'll get to that in a second. And I would like him to be approached with the same vigor that folks like Craig, FTFE, approach someone who believes in young Earth creationists. Take the gloves off. If that is how you approach others of the young Earth creationist community, then he should not be an exception, no matter how nice he is. I'm hoping with Conspiracy Cats that he drills him on this, or not drills. He holds his feet to the fire on this, because Conspiracy Cats, or excuse me, Culture Cats, the one true Cats, long live Cats. Culture Cats has made numerous videos about debunking the idea of creationists. I think he even got onto Hovind's radar at some point and got whacked by Hovind. So I would like him to treat Mr. Duffy with the same rigor, with the same attitude. Simply because he believes the earth is flat does not excuse his anti-science rhetoric. And I have been told, I've been mentioned in the comment section that Hovind wasn't prepared for that. In the comment section, whoa, Rob, why so angry? He doesn't force it on anybody. He doesn't force it on anybody that you know of. And I will be openly admitting that I may be misrepresenting Mr. Duffy. I will be looking through his sermons, all the sermons that I can find with him, to see how he approaches the subjects that I find highly objectionable. And if he doesn't, and if I don't find evidence of it, I will be posting an apology video to that extent. What that video was really about was not exactly Will Duffy. It was about the damage that Christian evangelicalism and Christian nationalism are currently doing to my country, which I do love dearly, and I do believe is one of the best, one of the greatest in the world. I definitely think that we are our viewpoints on paper will help lead to a better world and a better future for our children. On paper, I realize that reality is a thing, but that was before the right, the Christian right, started really seizing power. Now, let me put some background. Again, this video is about why I felt so passionately in that video. I don't typically talk about politics, but I am going to in a moment. Oh, let me back up a second. For all of you out there who think that racism, homophobia, transphobia, abortion are political issues, you need to reevaluate. These are moral issues that have political implications. This is not a left-right. Whether or not a person should have all of the rights of a human being is not a left-right issue. It's a human rights issue, period. Whether or not a woman should have full autonomy of her body as God has dictated, then that is a moral issue. I reject the notion that I'm being political when I'm doing this. If I were going to start talking about things such as Doge and whether or not it's legal for Doge to be slashing the programs that it is, that would be political. Speaking of Doge, how am I doing, Nimrod? I'm hanging in. I'm hanging in. So I once questioned gave myself this question. This was about the time of George W. What would be better? An effective president, and what I mean by effective is someone who actually got shit done, an effective president whom I disagreed with, or a president who did nothing, who basically just kept the status quo and allowed things to just go as they are. And at the time, I was very much of the opinion that I would rather have something done than nothing at all, because at least if something is done, then people can react to it, better or for worse. Doing nothing just allows the ills of our society to perpetuate. I am strongly reversing my opinion on this, because obviously what has gone within this new administration, and how you can't deny this country has mandated that we move forward with conservative values financially and socially. It's not in question. It's pretty solid that the majority of this country thinks that the Republican point of view on how we should be governed is the correct one. And that saddens the shit out of me. As someone, again, I'm putting all of this through the lens of a Christian. You can take that as you want, but that is vital to the conversation I'm having, because it is other Christians who are pushing this sort of agenda, or at least this is the sort of, or these Christians are the ones that certain folks who really need to lay off the bronzer are taking advantage of in order to push their own agendas. And yeah, I am talking about Trump. And I have a strong opinion about what is Christ-like and what is not. And their views on homosexuality, the transgender community, DEI, women's rights, immigration, basically anything to do with societal roles or societal activities, I strongly disagree with, to the point that I do not think they are walking in. They are not only not Christ-like, they are opposed to it. As I said in the previous video, I think quite a number of their viewpoints are not just wrong, they're evil. And so that I can't sit by and just neutrally look at evil being perpetrated and put out there and just say, oh, well, wait 4 years, vote him out of office. It's just another administration. It doesn't feel that way to me. It certainly does not feel that way to me. So one of the questions I had from first name, last name is, I don't speak. I'm not going to try to pronounce your Latin name, screen name, is why do you feel so strongly about young earth creationism as opposed to flat earth? Well, flat earth to me, as I responded to him, flat earth to me is not religiously motivated, at least not entirely. There are folks out there who have legitimate questions about whether or not the earth is flat. There is, as I've stated, there is a few pieces of evidence that you can look to that seems to suggest that the earth is flat, but do have very valid, correct explanations as to why those observations appear the way they do. Young Earth creationism is simply born from faith. And anything that and if I know anything about faith, when it comes to public outreaching, no, I'm not going to say that. It is perpetuating. It is not perpetuating science. It is not perpetuating science in any way, and it is doing so because it is pushing an agenda. You know, you talk about the gay agenda. I still haven't figured out what the fuck that is. But the Christian right sure as fuck has an agenda that they want to push on you. And, you know, again, going back to, oh, Will Duffy hasn't said this, Will Duffy hasn't said that, you know, he hasn't pushed his beliefs on things, he hasn't stated certain things. Yeah. And even if the only things that he believes that I find objectionable is his stance on homosexual marriage and abortion, he's got to know people who don't think trans folks exist. And I would be shocked to learn that Mr. Duffy believes that transgender is not a choice, that trans people exist and that they are valid, that homosexuality is not a choice. It is valid. God made them that way. Deal with it. Yes. Fabulous. So as a pastor, and this is another thing, he is a pastor. He has been appointed, self or otherwise, to lead people into salvation. Now, again, those of you who are not Christian may not understand the importance of that. You're talking about whether or not you exist for the rest of eternity after you die in bliss or in abject pain and suffering for eternity. To put that in perspective, I believe that's 10 times longer than your average trip to the DMV. It is mind-bogglingly large. This is why I have such a problem with when anyone has the gall to judge whether or not anyone else is going to hell. Do you quite understand what that means? Because as far as I know in the Bible, there is no evidence to suggest that God will put you in hell for 10,000 years and then pluck you out of it if he feels that you've learned your lesson. No, heaven and hell are permanent. They exist for all fucking time. So saying that you believe someone is going to burn in hell is not something that is trivial to me. And is not something that I take lightly in any way whatsoever. And to claim that a homosexual is going to burn in hell because of who they are, which is not a choice, how do you reconcile that with God? How do you reconcile that with a loving, just God? You can't. You cannot. And yes, the science tells us that homosexuality is not a choice. Common sense should tell you that it's not a choice. Because my captain salutes to what it likes, and that's women. So I didn't choose that. I don't choose what Stanley decides to stand up for. He just does. So if homosexuality is a choice, then shouldn't heterosexuality be a choice? It's not for me. I can't choose to be gay. I can't choose to be bisexual. I'm a straight dude. Better for worse. That's who I am. That's what I am. I don't have any say in the matter. So to believe that someone is going to burn in hell for all time because of something that they cannot control is evil. You cannot reconcile that with a just and loving God. It's just not possible. But anyway, let's get back to why I feel so passionately about these things. So Trump came into office, and I can understand that. So he has this mandate, and I can understand this. I can understand to a certain extent why people were tired of the Biden administration. I certainly was. I did not like Mr. Biden as president. I thought his administration was limp-dicked. You had the Ukraine war going on. You had the war in Gaza going on. You had rampant inefficiency within the government. You had rampant corruption within the corporate system. You had rampant corruption within the Supreme Court, and obvious partiality within the Supreme Court. Biden did nothing, or at least nothing of substance. And to his credit, Trump is doing something. He is actively doing something in regards to Ukraine, in regards to Gaza, in regards to government efficiency. So yeah, I can get behind that someone would appreciate an executive who was executing policy. I don't like his policy. I think that, again, it is wrong on many, many different levels. But at least he's doing something. So I get the idea behind why somebody would support him in some way. Yes, he is definitely fascist adjacent. But again, as I said before, Mussolini made the trains run on time. And for some people, that's basically all you need. That's what their one issue is they want to have some kind of control over their life. And, if you give it to them, they don't want to give a shit what else you do. So, so I can understand that. But what I cannot understand, and what saddens me, doesn't depress me, it saddens me to a marked degree, that the majority of my countrymen look at this dude and may have issues that motivate them, like Ukraine, like Russia, like Gaza, or at least foreign policy that involves conflict. They have these issues and they want them addressed, and they're willing to ignore pretty much everything else that someone is doing. I know I've done that with presidents in the past. I didn't agree entirely with, I thought a Biden's approach to Afghanistan was fucked. I thought that even thought it was fucked. I didn't like the fact that Barack Obama was assassinating people using drones. Not really down with that. There are things that presidents have done that I don't agree with, obviously. But it's now the things that are being done. It is what's not. There has been a line has been crossed. We have a sitting president who has suggested, jokingly or not, I can't believe that people think that he is joking when he speaks about anything. He has suggested to remove 2,000 people from the only home they have ever known and put in a fucking resort. He's not even talking about putting in housing for Israelites. He's talking about putting in a fucking resort. How callous is that? Even if it's a joke, what the fuck kind of mindset thinks that's funny? Thinks that is something that's needing to be put out there into the world? Roe got overturned. My mother used to tell me stories of women she knew. This is possibly triggering. For you young folks out there, coat hangers used to be curved wires that you could uncurve. And so these women, when they could not get proper care, would uncurl a wire, Stick it up their hoo-ha and take care of business. I don't know about you, but that's deplorable that they had to do that they were forced to do that because they had no other option. And I don't care how rare it was. If one person had to do that, felt that they needed to do that, yeah. As a Christian, yeah. So Roe got overturned. I see this, people, he wants to deport millions of illegal immigrants, folks that have been here for doesn't matter how many people have, or how long they have been in this country. They're gone. If they don't have the proper paperwork, if they haven't gone through the appropriate channels, then they haven't jumped through the right hoops, they're out of here. Doesn't matter what they have actually contributed to American society and to the American economy, you're fucking gone. And if that's not racism, it sure as fuck is classism, because he just put out the gold card. You can buy your way into this country. What the living fuck? If we are a Christian nation, you're telling me you have to pay an admissions fee? You can pay an admissions fee in order to get into it? How fucked is that? So all of this is happening, and it has made me sad, and it has made me question the future of my country, the future of the world, because, like it or not, and I hope I'm not too Markan for saying this, but the United States is a leader on the world stage. What the United States does has dramatic consequences to many parts of the world. And so this has global implications. Our administration has global implications. And again, the majority of our country feels that this is the direction we want to go, both financially, militarily, and socially. Or at least they're okay with the direction that we're going. And I find it so objectionable as a Christian that people are being marginalized. People are being persecuted because of things they have absolutely no fucking control over. Christ teaches us to look to the marginalized, to take care of the least among us, to shelter them, to comfort them, to provide them succor, not to send them back to countries where some of them are probably going to get shot because a cartel or a government doesn't like them, or they're at least going back to conditions that are even more deplorable than they are here in the United States. The suffering that they are going to experience is going to be increased. Not to mention how much this fucking plan is going to cost. And good people actual citizens are going to be caught up in this. There's really no way to do that. No way. Cannot foresee mistakes not being made in that regard. Families are going to be torn apart because some immigrant families have citizens among them. And so they are going to have their loved ones ripped away without say so, or without repercussion, or basically, nothing to say about it. There's no recourse for them to do. It's not like they can appeal to the Supreme Court, assuming the Supreme Court would even listen to them, and get their family back once they've been deported, with or without handcuffs. So that has ultimately led to a feeling of hopelessness, a feeling of helplessness, I see these evils in the world, and I know how this is going to sound, and I don't like how it's going to sound, but it pains me. I feel it deeply. And it pains me that I feel so hopeless or so helpless to affect any kind of meaningful change when it comes to what is going on in our society at the moment. Even the little things that I can do, I haven't been able to do, and that's a separate issue entirely. I've decided that I'm going to volunteer locally for certain causes that I think need to be protected and need to be strengthened. But I haven't, because it comes down to mental health. So one of the diagnoses that I've gotten in the past is borderline personality disorder. And the main reason why I've been diagnosed this way is because my ability to regulate my emotions is pretty shit. It's definitely shit when I'm not on meds. Medication has definitely helped. That's probably the biggest area that medication has helped with. If you're unfamiliar with emotional dysregulation or with BPD, basically what that means is that if you take a certain stimulus, a person with BPD is going to feel it, their emotional reaction is going to be larger and longer than neurotypical. When I get happy, I fucking get happy. And I stay that way for a while. When I was young, and Brother Vic could attribute to this, when I got into a laughing fit, I would stay laughing for tens of minutes. You could not, anything that happened would perpetuate it. I would laugh my fucking ass off. Hopefully it wasn't maniacal, but yeah. Vic actually liked to use it to his own advantage. Like he used to goad me on with it, which I don't have a problem with. But on the reverse hand, I can say that, yeah, I have legitimately cried because of a Sarah McLachlan commercial, because of animal abuse. I have cried about it. It has affected me that deeply. Again, on medication, it doesn't affect me as much. I'm a bit more controlled with it. But what it means is when I get triggered, and I want to normalize that as a positive word, again, the right has decided that that displaying strong emotion is somehow wrong. The right men have been using that against women for centuries, explaining that with this idea that women are more emotional, so therefore they can't think critically and therefore should not have, the right to vote or the right to have any sort of power or decision makings whatsoever. And that is, I think, harmful to our society, that we shun emotionally charged statements. But that's where the anger, that's what fueled the anger. That's what fueled the F-bombs. And I got to say, I'm actually disappointed. One of the ways I'm disappointed with myself is that I didn't mix it up when it comes to swearing. My swearing wasn't really up to my standards. Do I have reservations about that? Yes, I have reservations insofar that I knew I was angry. I was angrier even earlier in the day when I saw the video that I'm about to show you again. And I immediately went to Discord and shared it and said that I think on my own Discord, I said, I want to go live now. And I knew that I could not do so rationally, that I would be even more emotional than I was in that video. And the problem with passion, the problem with being so strongly invested into something, is that the points you're attempting to make can get muddled or misinterpreted, or the person can be turned off so much that they just don't listen to what you have to say. And so when I approach these things, I want to be able to do so in a way that is approachable, in a way where my passion and what I believe to be right and what I believe to be wrong is known. There is no mistaking where I stand on these things. And I hope I can make it such an impassioned plea that I can sway people to my way of thinking, or at least get them to think about it, to have the conversation about it. But yeah, swearing is fucking fantastic. I love me some goddamn swearing. That always reminds me of the quote in Patton. I see you've got a Bible on your nightstand. Do you find any time to read it? Every goddamn day. Yeah, I have no problem with swearing. You got to do it. You got to do it right. All right. I'm assuming y'all can hear me about this. So for this is in response to those of you who don't think that Will Duffy pushes his values onto other people.
Thank you. Mr. Duffy.
My name is William Duffy, and I am here testifying on behalf of the unborn babies that this bill says can be killed with, quote, instrument, agent, or drug. This bill might be the worst bill in the history of the country. And that's saying something, considering the United States Supreme Court actually issued a ruling that said blacks were only 3/5 of a person. But this bill is worse. This bill says all human beings who have not yet been born don't have the fundamental right to life. Since no one on the committee has yet voted for or against this bill, I'd like to know, what side of history do you want to come down on? Do you want to join those who ignored science and reality and said blacks were 3/5 of a person? Or do you want to be known as someone who did not deny science and reality and acknowledge the basic truth that life begins at fertilization and these unborn human beings need to be protected? The choice is yours. I'm very passionate about this issue because I care about others and protecting others. And I'm going to do everything legally in my power to make sure anyone on this committee or in the Colorado legislature who votes for this bill will have a tarnished legacy as someone who had the opportunity to do the right thing and protect innocent life, but instead chose to come down on the side of ignoring an entire class of human beings not too dissimilar to those who did not stand up for blacks. The first step I took in holding anyone accountable for supporting a wicked bill like this one is I purchased the web domains of your names. That's right, Madam Chair. If you grab your phone right now and go to SusanLawnTeam.com,
keep your comments limited to the
you
bill.
will see that I own it.
Mr. Duffy, please keep your comments to the bill.
When you do the right thing, you don't worry about something like this because people who do the right thing end up on the right side of history. But those who fail to protect the innocent, especially those in a position of governmental authority, must be exposed. And my intent will be for anyone who votes for this to be remembered for voting to kill babies in the womb. Any questions?
About the applause rule, you can do the non-verbal, but please do not applaud. Okay.
So let's unpack that a few things. Again, this is a man that folks are aligning with, that he is an example of seeking truth, of knowing, of science. The 3/5 compromise was not a Supreme Court decision at all. The Supreme Court, in fact, did not even fucking exist when the 3/5 compromise was created. That was created in the Constitution. The 3/5 compromise is in the fucking Constitution. He couldn't get that right. He says that this is the worst bill, that abortion is basically the worst policy in American history. I think a few Native Americans would like to have a word with you, Mr. Duffy. Except for blacks. I love how he coached this with blacks. because he wants to manipulate you into thinking, oh, this is the same thing as slavery. Now, I'm sorry, people do not have to buy slaves in order to preserve their own life. Yet there are people and women who have to have an abortion in order to do it. This is a repugnant comparison, that you are even equating abortion to what a Black population has suffered in our country from slavery to the present fucking day. It's unconscionable. Life begins. Science tells us that, and science told us that blacks were inferior. No, he's right about that. Science at one point did say it. We have obviously reversed course on that, but oddly enough, religion also said it. John C. Calhoun, you can think of as one of the founding fathers of the Confederacy, advocated that it was the Christian duty of whites to enslave Black people. He was not an advocate for just simply that slavery should exist. He believed that slavery was a moral prerogative, that we were meant to own Blacks because they were morally inferior. They were violent, they were stupid, and they must be taken care of for their own sake and for the sake of other people. That was religiously motivated. He quoted scripture in order to do that. So please, Mr. Duffy, do not bring science into this, into slavery, if you do not acknowledge the damage that religion, that Christianity has done to Blacks. Life begins at fertilization. He claims that is scientific fact. It is not. Again, not a biologist, but I'm fairly confident I can say that science has no idea when life starts. Which is one of the reasons why there has been and still is discussion as to how far along in the present pregnancy that abortions can be allowed. Because I don't think anyone is advocating for an abortion of someone, if a woman is at pardon me for not, 8 months pregnant. If a woman decides, fuck it, just throw in the towel and decides to chuck the baby, I don't believe anyone is saying she has the right to do that. Maybe some people are. I don't know. I don't know. But there is a discussion. There's an active discussion among scientists as to whether or not when life starts. From a theological standpoint, it is only murder, if you wish, or it is only killing when a soul is involved. So really the question is not when life begins, it's when a soul is invested into the fetus or into the proto-baby, proto-human being. And that is not scientific at all. There's no way we can scientifically demonstrate that a soul enters a life form. We can't even scientifically prove that a soul exists. And I'm okay with that. So to have the audacity to say that he's on the side of science when it comes to this issue is fucking ungodly to me. And again, the fact that anyone would hold up this person as an example of fighting against pseudoscience is beyond me. Yes, he put together the final experiment. Yes, he paid for it. Kudos, I guess. Personally, I'm with one of his critics. I think that that money could have been of better use to serving his own community rather than dealing with this, because as I said, while there have been some damage to flat Earth, it's not going to end it. And I wouldn't be surprised if there's another gerund pops up. I wouldn't even be surprised if Jaron reverses course sometime down the line. Because Jaron, if you're watching this, your direction, your motivation isn't truth, my friend. At least it is not clear. It is clear to me that it isn't truth. It's notoriety. You want to be in a position where you can tell people what is right and wrong. It's not about truth. It's about what you can say and get away with and be supported with, financially or otherwise. So that is why I was so charged, so pissed. Now, again, I wish to be absolutely clear. I do not know, and I am not claiming that Mr. Duffy is actively telling people they need to change or they're going to hell. I'm not saying that because I don't have any evidence of it. But his views and his beliefs, particularly Bible literalism, go hand in hand with the kind of evangelicism as men like Odell, men like Locke. I know that Mr. Duffy and Mr. Odell, assuming I've got his name right, had a debate and debated flat Earth. It would be very interesting to me to see to hear what their discussion would be like if they discussed homosexuality or the primacy of women in a relationship. Does God tell us truly that women are born to serve men, to serve the household? Because there are a lot of Bible passages that, shall we say, are a bit misogynist. So it would be interesting to me to see if he has what that kind of conversation would be like. Again, this is anecdotal, and I generally speaking don't like anecdotal evidence. My evidence or my anecdotal evidence is that if you have the beliefs that Will Duffy does, you have the same views and the same viewpoints. Howdy, Tony. As other evangelical Christians who do, in fact, put it out there on the internet, on the tubes. And just because you have not seen it on the tubes doesn't mean that it does not exist. In that video, there at least half of those people applauded the man, cheered when he made his statements equating abortion to slavery, when he equated abortion to, well, not slavery, but equated abortion to the experience of Black Americans. When he said that it's scientific that life starts at life, or that life starts at conception, that is scientific, that he decided to buy the domain names of the names of everyone on that council for reasons. I don't even know what's on those web pages. I would be curious to know if what's on those web pages and if they're still up. I'll let someone else fucking look into that. Yes, that bugged the fuck out of me too. For those of you who are not aware, just briefly, I have been a man of faith for all of my life. I have not been taught. I was not raised in a religious household. I did have in high school and in college, I did have Christian friends and was influenced by that. Vic was a fervent Catholic at the time. He has since left the church. But I was a Wiccan for 15 years. I helped lead 2 covens. I was a Wiccan for a very long time. And then I realized that Wicca did not have the moral meat to it. That Wiccan theology was more about spellcraft than it was about what is right, what is wrong. Do as you will and harm none is one of the most naive statements I have ever read or heard someone espouse. So I converted. To Christianity. Specifically, I converted to Catholicism. I went through the RCIA program. Incidentally, my what do you call him? Sponsor? Shit, I can't remember his name, or can't remember his title. He was gay, is gay. One of the 2 people who led the RCIA group, gay. Basically half of the participating parish, gay. And this was Catholic. So I know those of the Catholic persuasion can actually, care about homosexuality, who are not homophobes, who welcome people, who welcome them into their own communities. But ultimately, I left the church after about 7 years because I feel the church is evil. Their stance, I quickly refused to take communion from the church simply because of their stances on women and homosexuality. The fact that women could not be given do not have the same spiritual rights as men is ridiculous. And again, somewhat repugnant. The fact that homosexuals could not marry, did not have the same either spiritual or civil rights as other people bothered me. So I stopped taking communion. And I vowed to myself I wouldn't take communion until they reversed direction on that. Then the whole pedophilia thing came out. The whole violating the sacred trust by violating children. That was the line I could not cross, still cannot cross. Is, again, these are priests. The moral sacred duty that has been handed to them, and they took it and they used it to prey upon people, the weak. And the church has, at best, acknowledged it. At worst, covered it up. And they have done nothing to atone for that sin. And if you are a Catholic, you know we're real big, they're real big on atonement. That when you sin, you got to do something to make it right. And the church has not. They haven't even tried. So, fuck the church. I am sorry to hear that Pope Francis is very ill and may not be with us for very much longer. I am very sorry to hear that. And I hope that he recovers soon. But that's my take on that. That's where I am from a religious standpoint. Now I've completely forgotten why I even brought that up in the first place. Yeah, completely forgotten about it. But as I'm looking at it, but Nicene Creed, yes. So there are still bits of me who are Catholic enough that when I look at it, it bugs the fuck out of me. What is it? Where is his church? And for shits and giggles, let's look at it. Is it here? Sapien had it on his channel. I don't know where he found that. He's a part of Denver Bible Church. Interestingly enough, there's a website called the Will Duffy Archives, which is from the Baptist News Global. They talk about the final experiment. I think this might be on the tubes. No, I don't know. I'll have to figure out if I can find out what website Sapien was using, where he used the creed. Or you could just, better yet, go to his channel, watch the video. Not that he needs me to pimp his channel, but there you go. Steam, a couple of reasons. Howdy, Jeff. My channel is slowly growing, although as it happens, I have actually lost a few subs because of my viewpoint, of how I've been expressing my views on Will Duffy and the final experiment. But nice to see you. Hopefully you were doing well. Oh, and also for the Irish folks in the audience, yeah, how the church treated pregnant women, fuck them. Taking babies away from their mothers because the mothers are sinners, fuck them. Again, evil. For those of you who are not aware, check that out. Look into that. Lovely practice that the church had. I have looked at a couple of sermons that are associated with Mr. Duffy's. Yes, they are atrocities. Mr. Duffy's church. It was I don't remember his name, but the rhetoric he was spewing is very much in line with what I've heard. Most or almost all Christian evangelicals that I've talked to believe that once you accept Christ in your heart, you're saved. That's it. You're done. You are without sin and will always be without sin, which is arrogant to the point of fall. It is the pride before the fall. To say that you are without sin continually, I don't even imagine how you can possibly say that. The only being that has ever been without sin forever is Christ. Fairly confident that's in the Bible. Everyone else, we are imperfect. We sin. So the idea that, oh, yes, I accept Jesus Christ as my personal Lord and Savior. Boom, I'm done. I have an express train to heaven. That's fucking bullshit. But yeah, while this particular preacher did not say that, what he said was that followers of Christ are their actions are just. The actions of the righteous are just. Okay, didn't specify what those actions were, but again, what kind of arrogance does one have to have in order to claim they are righteous? They are, in fact, the ones doing God's work. They know it, and they are so firm on that they can act upon it. And again, he didn't state what the actions were. But other evangelicals who have said a very similar thing to me, they have said that in the context of the persecution of people whom they believed be sinners. Sometimes in terms of women. One of the first street preacher, Brother Jed, God bless his soul, this was back in the 90s. So homosexuality and all that, that was still very much in the closet. So he didn't even really talk about that. His big thing was fornicators. He really didn't like them fornicators. He also really didn't like women. And a good deal of his sermons, street sermons, were about how women should get back in the fucking kitchen. That a woman's place, well, not just in the kitchen, but in the birthing room. That a woman's position, or that the woman's purpose and only purpose, really, was the producing and upbringing of children. And when asked one day, how do you support that argument? He did this. What do you think these are for? So yeah, he thought he was righteous, and I'm sure he thought his actions were just. I strongly disagree with that. And again, that is dangerous. Saying that your actions, because you are righteous, is just, is what perpetrates atrocities. Because you can convince yourself that you can do fun things like murder and say that you are justified in committing that sin because whom you killed is against God. And why are they against God? Because you say so. Howdy, Russell. I've been okay. Let's move on to Bible literalism, which a lot of this is predicated on. Tony, I said at the very beginning of the stream that young Earth creationism basically is refuted by everything geology has to say on the subject. And I've even, with Tony, I've even put out the idea of perhaps a collaboration where that's what we focus on, is simply the age of the universe. I would love if there is a biologist out there, if we can attack the entire problem, if we can basically start, debunking. I don't usually like debunking because I don't typically want to debate debunking, but in this case, I may very well make an exception. And it would be, I don't know, it would be interesting, I think, to have an astronomer, a geologist, and a biologist attack the nonsense. And yes, it is nonsense. That is the young Earth creationist movement or thought process. I'm not going to pull punches on this because, again, it takes the Bible literally. Let's talk about biologists. Again, not a biologist. It wasn't an atheist who repeatedly said, kill them all, God will sort them out, or know his own. No, it probably wasn't. I don't know who said it, but, yeah. Christians have done horrible atrocities in the name of righteousness. So to claim that your actions are just because you are righteous is sinful and points to a mentality that I think verges, if not is, evil. Not saying that Mr. Duffy is evil. I'm just saying that statements like that lead to actions such as that. And honestly, if you are, and again, if I cannot imagine that Mr. Duffy does not know folks like this, does he minister to them to let them know that their actions are hateful? I don't know. I hope so. I very much hope so. I want to take the opportunity to say this again. Will Duffy actually responded to my first video fairly quickly, I think within a couple hours, which I was impressed with. I didn't realize that I had a big enough influence or big enough sphere of influence that he heard about it. I'm fairly confident he's not a subscriber. If you aren't a subscriber, please take the time to sub, like, and share, and hit that bell for notifications. But he responded to it in my opinion, a very flippant and dismissive way. He said something to the effect of, tell me how you really feel. Just kidding. Love ya. Smiley face emoji. My response to him was, if you were willing to have a conversation with me, I certainly will do that. Not kidding. But I can understand his reticence to have a discussion with me because because of how I was in that video. if faced with someone that passionate, that angry, I probably wouldn't be excited about having a conversation with them either. But I wouldn't be flippant in that person's comment section. And yeah, maybe I am overthinking about this, and maybe I'm overthinking this. Maybe I am being too sensitive about this. But one of the things that aggravates me the most, that I've again only encountered this from evangelicals, is when they disagree with me, or they think that I'm wrong or whatever, they end things with, "I'm praying for you. I love you." What that translates into my head is, "Fuck off." That is a polite way of saying fuck off. "I'm praying for you." Great. How about you go on the street corner and do it right? Put on a grass shirt, gnash your teeth, and really pray for me. That is not coming from a place of love. That is coming from a place of condensation. You think that I am in need of divine intervention. My actions need, I need to be punished by my parent, my spiritual God, because I'm misbehaving. Well, fuck you. So yeah, I didn't really take the love ya. Because do you really? But that all being said, again, I don't think you would really want to do this. I would love to have a conversation with you, Mr. Duffy, not about flat Earth, but about young Earth creations, about Bible literalism. Because Bible literalism doesn't make any fucking sense whatsoever. It is the Bible has a number of direct contradictions, such as who actually killed Goliath? Who killed Goliath? How were men and women? How was a woman created? Was she created from the rib of Adam, or was she created from the dirt? I mean, I suppose you could twist yourself a little bit and say, well, she was created from the rib of Adam, who was created from the dirt. So therefore she's created from the... No, fuck off with that noise. It's right there it's in Genesis, for Christ's sake. The first contradiction that comes into play. So how do you reconcile that? In the last stream, do you follow everything? Do you ostracize your women when they are menstruating? Do you advocate for the killing of children because they are disruptive? Do you wear polyester? Because I loves me some polyester. I know it's not in fashion anymore, but I loves me some polyester. And I would hate to think that God is going to punish me for eternity for wearing polyester or having these. So do you believe all that? I would love to have a conversation about that. And I promise you that I can do so civilly. Because again, and from a biological standpoint, somebody in my comment section in the last video was like, you should trust all science but biology. And in the way that he stated it was sarcastic. And he pointed me to a video by Dr. John Weiss, which I watched. Again, not a biologist, so I didn't really have anything too much to say about his analysis, because it was into mitochondrial DNA and the rates of mutation of such, and how that leads to speciation, I guess, the creation of species and all that. I can't speak to that. But what I can do is I can Google. And so his statement in that was that even given 8 people being the starting of human, or the restart of civilization, 8 people would lead to what is currently known or currently shown by modern science to actually be the appropriate tree of life, or whatever the hell it is, mitochondrial DNA plot. And matrilineal lineage He said that the scientific consensus is that the matrilineal lineage based on mitochondrial DNA is consistent with 4,000 years. I did the Googling for, I don't know, 30 seconds. And I found a study by Bayar in 2008 that talked about a single line within South Africa that was dated based on mitochondrial DNA to 90 to 150,000 years, in direct contradiction to what Dr. Wise was saying. So biology seems to go with me. And as I also mentioned in the comment, biology also seems to think that you need at least 500 individuals in order to actually have a species or have a population that isn't be riddled with inbreeding. Last I checked, 8 was significantly less than 500. 2 is really less than 500. So science doesn't have any, science kind of debunks that. Fine off. Again, not a biologist. And I learned that pretty easily with my Google foo. This is flat Earth. Flat Earthers will make a statement that they believe is factual, and in many cases, 15 seconds of Google foo will show you that no, that's not the case. They will make statements about what the globe model will have to say. No, that's not what the globe model has to say. This is directly in line. This is exactly in the same fucking playbook as flat Earth. And I truly want the debunking community to understand that Mr. Duffy is not seeking truth. He is not a champion of the scientific method. He is not a champion of following the science. And yes, I have been approached through Discord and whatever, and they say, we're working on him. He's open to being wrong. How many times have I heard a fucking flat earther tell me that? Oh yeah, I'm open to being wrong. How many times have I seen them actually do it? Actually say I was wrong and go for it. One out of the hundreds of flat earthers that I've encountered, one actually did it. So let me say that I'm not holding my breath, that I don't put a lot of creed when someone who believes the earth is 6,000 years old is actually open to being proved wrong. Because again, the evidence is right there. It's right at your fingertips. He's not ignorant of this. People who believe the earth is young and that bioevolution is not a thing, just like someone who believes in the flat earth, they know of the evidence and they are choosing to deny it. They are not combating it with other science. They are actively choosing to deny it. Make no mistake, this is not a scientific inquiry. This is a choice based on a worldview. And again, YEC is a worldview that is directly motivated by Bible literalism, Christianity. And that is why I feel so fucking passionately about it. Because now it's personal. Because, yeah. And this is a question I've had with flat earthers. And hopefully I'm not losing my entire flat earth. Here we go. Peter Markley. I see. No. Well, let me finish this thought. And I hope I haven't lost all of my flat earth, but I would love to have a conversation with anyone who believes the earth should be, or the earth is 6,000 years old. He didn't write love you brother. He said love ya. Even though he used the full term you earlier. Again, you might be thinking that I'm oversensitive about this, that I'm taking this out of context. But it sure as shit seemed dismissive and dismissive to me and not true. It did seem performative. It didn't seem genuine. So again, maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I'm wrong. And I will apologize if I'm wrong with as much passion and verve as I am stating things now, if I am in fact wrong. Rob, this is the same logic that makes me walk further and further away from all religions. Obviously, I'm honestly sorry to hear that. Obviously, I have my beliefs, and I believe them to be correct, or I wouldn't believe them at all. And it pains me that people are turned away because of all of this nonsense. But why is it even? I don't know. Let's see. All right, let's do this. Let's mute me. Bam. He is now. My issue is that people who hold demonstrably factually incorrect positions should carefully consider whether or not they should vote, much less stay in public policy. Let me minimize that so I'm not distracted. Yeah, I am. Let me read that again, make sure I get it right. Whether or not they should vote. I hear what you're saying. I know I can understand why you would say that. But I would not go that far. I would not go that far based on the value system of the founding fathers, effectively. Now, do I have a problem with that elected officials have power over or can make policy on subject matter they are not experts on? Yeah, I have a problem with that. But unfortunately, that's how our system is built. As Churchill said, democracy is the best form of government. What was it? Oh, shit, I fucked up the quote. Yeah, I just fucked that quote up. Basically, he was saying that all governments suck. Democracy just happens to suck less. And so, yeah, our representative federalism is definitely deeply flawed. Oh, you're not suggesting they should be barred from voting? Okay. Yeah. And again, I've said this multiple times, morality should not be legislated. So things like whether or not somebody can marry someone else, if it's consensual and it's not harming anybody, then yeah, go nuts. I would even be open to the idea of polygamy, but I am not so certain that polygamy can be done such that harm isn't committed. But I am ignorant on that. So who knows? Child marriage is obviously wrong because it does actual harm to the child. Yeah, murder, rape, that sort of thing. Those are necessary for the good functioning of society. Whether or not some dudes start going at it in a public or in the privacy of their own home in a sex chair, how is that affecting society? Drag queens reading to kids? Are you really telling me that is a negative effect on society? No. Unless you can show me evidence of it. Again, I'm open to being wrong. If you can show me evidence that these things are actually harming society, that these topics are actually harmful to the functioning of society, then, then I will revise my viewpoints. But I don't. Yeah, I don't get multiple wives either. I'm no good at one relationship, let alone 3 or more. I mean, kudos if that works for you. I can't even fucking do it. So yeah, I don't know if Peter Markley is still in the chat or not, but I'm gonna be probably signing off in at least most a half hour or so, because I got some work to do. Although it's looking, oh no, it's clear. I got some work to do on the roof, but yeah, I would be happy to have a conversation with Peter or with any young Earth creationist. Because, well, actually, I think I was getting into this, and of course, squirrel. What I want to talk to flat earthers about it, and now also young Earth creationists, is why must we take the Bible literally? Why must one's faith be predicated on the Bible being the literal Word of God? I don't take it as a literal Word of God, and I have plenty of faith in Him and in Christ. I don't understand the necessity of it. Howdy, Coco Rose. So, because it's just, there's so much evidence that suggests that it's not written by the same dude. It contradicts each other. It contradicts each other itself, in terms of factual information, and sometimes in theme. So I mentioned before, there's a YouTuber who is a Bible exegesis. He studies the Bible for a living. His PhD studies the Bible for a living, and his tagline is data over dogma. And he says that any Christian, or really any person of faith, has to reconcile these facts about the Bible, that is not univocal, that is not historically accurate, that there are inconsistencies. You have to reconcile these things if you are to, you have to reconcile them with your faith in one way or another. And I fully agree with that. And I don't understand why that is a bad thing to do, or why that is an inappropriate thing to do. I mean, hell, the Episcopals have women are clergy, and they can be gay, and they can be married. Hey, Catholic light for the win. So yeah, I don't get it. I don't get why that necessarily needs to be a prerequisite for it. Also, I feel that if anyone is going to take the Bible literally, then I have to demand that you know that you are fluent in both Greek and Hebrew, and probably should know some Aramaic. Because if you're going to take the Bible literally, then you need to read the source text. Because I don't know if you've picked up more than one Bible. I don't know if you picked up more than the King James, but they aren't the same. Hell, the Catholics include 2 books that aren't even in the other Bibles. Should I take Maccabees as being literal? Do I take Maccabees as the literal word of God, or is that forbidden? And if so, why? What is the justification for why Maccabees is not the literal word of God? Yet Catholics think they do, considering it was the Catholics who put the damn thing together, who put the Bible together. Why is it that the Catholics are wrong about those two particular books and Protestants are not? And anyone who is even versed a little bit in linguistics will tell you that translation is not a one-to-one thing. There is interpretation within translation. You can do it literally, but you lose meaning. You can then do it as most, from my understanding, most Bibles are, is you would try to interpret what the author is trying to say, and you use the appropriate modern words to say it. King James has a problem because he explicitly stated to his translators, the word of tyranny shall not exist, even though there are words in the Bible, there is Greek, possibly Hebrew, that would translate best into tyranny. King James said, no, I ain't going to do that. That's not going to be a thing. So how is it that you can take the Bible as a literal word of God when there is so much human intervention? It doesn't make any sense to me. It doesn't make any sense to me from a layperson's perspective. It doesn't make any sense to me from a theological perspective. Is because if this is the truth, if the literal interpretation of the Bible is how God wants us to live, then why is it different in so many different editions? Why are these contradictions there? So if you're going to take the little Bible word of God, I'm going to say that you're going to need to learn you're going to have to read the source material directly and not look to apps to translate certain words for you or certain passages for you. Because again, you're allowing someone else to translate it for you. So, yeah, not exactly what I wanted to say, but the Syriac and Egyptian Bibles both contain parts of the book of Enoch. I really need to read Enoch. I'm intrigued by it. But yes, yeah, not all Bibles are the same. So which one is it? Let me guess. It's yours, isn't it? It's your Bible I should take literally. Again, hubris. The belief that you know what is true about God and anyone else who contradicts you is wrong. So, and for the record, I'm not saying, no, I am saying that certain belief systems are wrong. I'm not saying that taking the Bible literally is wrong, so long as, well, actually, yeah, because if you take the Bible literally, you're going to, the Bible has some pretty fucked up laws, particularly in Leviticus. For example, if someone who is an evangelical were to meet me, say 20 years ago, the Bible commands that you kill me. Thou shalt not suffer a witch to live. I was literally a witch. A person who is a follower of the Wiccan path is a witch. Not a pagan, a witch. So it's in there. That's a direct quote. Thou shalt not suffer a witch to live. So are you so evangelicals, if you take the Bible literally, are you telling your followers to go kill witches? Because they exist. They're out there in the hundreds of thousands, if not more. So is that what you want? Is that just because you are righteous? And if it isn't, if you want to say, no, I don't follow that, then are you truly taking the Bible literally? Because I don't think you are. Because it's pretty clear on that. If you find a witch, you need to kill them. So if you don't do it, you are not taking the Bible literally. So if you're not taking the Bible literally, why are you hanging your hat on 6 days of creation? Why are you hanging your hat on what Peter has to say in Romans about not lying with the same or whatever however it is. No, I do not memorize chapter and verse. You'll have to forgive me on that. So why is it that I have to take that literally, but not all the other stuff? Again, I like polyester. I like some rayon in my shit. In my stuff. I mean, shit, I think this would send me to hell. Because it sure as shit ain't a single material. So, I don't know. I certainly weighed more than tiny little pebbles. But I never weighed myself, mainly because I don't like ducks. Or at least I don't like ducks, getting near ducks. So, so there is that. La la la. Yeah. So these are the questions that I would like to explore with anyone who claims to take the Bible literally, or anyone who says that the universe is 6,000 years old because the Bible says so, and why that the earth was created in 6 days. Because I'd also like to know things like, how old is the universe? Because the universe is older, according to the Bible, the universe is older than Earth. There was a formless void, a water. I think it was water. I'd probably check it, but I won't. On stream. There was something before Earth. So how old is the universe? Does the Bible say? Because I don't think the Bible states. Science has an answer to that question, or at least some answer to that question. It does. We have a number. There is some question as to if anything came before the Big Bang, but we can at least define the beginnings of our present universe to be 13.7, 13.8 billion years old. Can the Bible do that? Again, science is not just about being correct, about being a valid representation of reality. It is that. It strives to be that. But there's more to it. Science strives to have answers to all questions. Yeah, there's the last Thursdayism. Oh, God did it last Thursday. It just made it look that, it's that it's this old, which is a ridiculous argument because you can't question it. You can't combat it in any way. It basically ends any sort of conversation. God made it that way. Okay, well, all right. I guess our conversation is over. Other than the fact that why would he, as I've stated before, why would God make the universe look old? Why does God make Australia look to be billions of years old and not even the same age from one coast to the other? That seems pretty deceitful. And there's another dude who's that's his shtick. So yeah. Where was I? Just lost that thought. What's it in intellect? How is Austin doing these days? Has he? I know that he was trying to get on Candace Owens' show. So I'm wondering whether or not I'm curious to see whether or not Whitsitt is going to drop Flat Earth entirely and actually move on to the more political, maybe not political again, more controversial I'll just outright state it. Basically, anti-Semitic viewpoints that alt-right people do, that immigrants are, dirty, dirty brown people and they need to be thrown out. I'm curious whether or not he's going to abandon flat earth entirely and move to something that is more, sadly, more socially acceptable these days. So, wonder what a Boltzmann brain was from watching Strange New Worlds. I don't know what a Boltzmann brain is either. I'll have to look that up. He's angling for Alex. I know that he was on InfoWars once, but I haven't been keeping up to date, but I don't even know if InfoWorlds is still a thing anymore. I know that it wasn't, that the Onion tried to buy it, but howdy, Science. I know the Onion was trying to buy it, but I think there was some pushback on it. I think the courts ruled that they couldn't. So, brand in a vat. So yeah. I'll be Effie till I die. Russell Gregory. Russell, did you email me about coming on to my show? Because I just responded to someone who had actually reached out to me to have a conversation on stream. And I really had been busy with other things. I do apologize for it. And I hope that my recent attitudes have not dissuaded you or anyone else from coming on the stream. All right. Well, yeah, Russell, let me know. I usually do it, like I said on the email, I do it in somewhere in the mid-afternoon on Sundays. So I would really like to know why it is you feel, or why this statement, you'll be flat earth till you die. That is a certain declarative statement, or that is certainly a declarative statement. My understanding is Boltzmann brain equals spontaneously self-created intelligent consciousness that's not corporeal. Oh, okay. Sure. I will also state again, Sabina's idea that the universe is one giant brain is laughable. And yeah, she's definitely entering into the quackitude professor. So, have I seen 3 brown, 1 blue vid with Dr. 2 about measuring the Earth to the Forgive me, I'm having difficulty parsing this. I can say fairly confidently I've not seen this video. What is measuring the Earth to the galaxy mean? Dr. Tao. Who is Dr. Tao? Mm-hmm. Emerging modalities in drug discovery. When you are in the field, every moment is healing. How Tao quantum healing is transforming people's lives. Is that the Dr. Tao we're talking about? Yes, Terrence Tao. All right, I will check it out. Most of this seems to be about medicine, which again, not a biologist. But what is this? CO2 capture from air, energy constraint perspective. Yeah. All right. Yeah, I have no idea. So yeah, I'll definitely check that out. Sabina, I think, is because I just saw another. I think she just put out a video called "Defunding Academia," and I think she already had a video out there. It said it was like from today, but maybe it's her old video. I did not click on it because I recognize that it is clickbait, and that I most likely would not. I would have a problem with pretty much everything that she has to say. But yeah, she isn't about science communication anymore. She's about spectacle, talking about the galaxy or the universe being, quantum computing and all of this stuff, which, there is quite a bit of, I know nothing about quantum computing. I trust enough in the science to say that, okay, if you're telling me that quantum entanglement is a thing, then it's a thing. But I certainly don't think we're at a position where we can make such statements as, conflating AI with quantum entanglement or the universe or what have you. Terrence Tao is a mathematician. Okay. Okay. Maybe this isn't the Dr. Tao that I'm looking at, because this is pretty much all medical. No, this is not. Okay. Terrence. How do you spell his name? Tao. I'm assuming he does not think that 1 × 1 = 2. He's not that Terrence. Oh, here we go. Could AI be a mathematical buddy? I don't know. Do they like long walks on the beach? Do they like pina coladas? Dr. Terrence Tao on how we measure the cosmos, the distance letter, part 1. Okay. Oh yeah, definitely gonna watch that. All right, I think I found the video you're talking about. Yeah, so I'm not gonna. Sabina has gone the way of exactly the way she's doing exactly what I do not like among science communicators, which is basically pandering to an audience to get views, to get money, to be as sensational as possible and as provocative as possible, in order to promote. Yeah, it's very akin to. I don't want to accuse her of this, but it strikes me as the cynical Rob looks at that and says, "You're scamming people. This is a grift." It was very aggravating to watch that video where she was talking about the email that she received admitting to the fact that high energy physics is basically is self-perpetuating because it is financially motivated. And at the very end of the video, she's hawking incognito or something. It's like, you could not shill a company in a video where you're criticizing other people for shilling for money. Yeah, it seems, let's keep the hypocrisy a little less naked. Let's put some clothes on that. It would be really appropriate. We can email and I'll leave you my phone number. Okay. Sounds good. I'd like to do it on stream, but phone call would be, I'm most interested in having the conversation, but I would also like other folks to hear it as well. But definitely, I'll give you a call. I deliberately create videos that do not get views because we vet all watchers. Fair. Yeah, I can understand that. Definitely understand that. What is his weakest area in mathematics? Good Lord. I don't know. I don't think I want to know that. Because it would probably it hurts me, Precious, to hear what his weakest is probably something that I can't even comprehend. So, oh yeah, you got some views for Gary. I wonder how Gary is doing. Kind of going to be wrapping this up, but I've been thinking about Gary recently because I'm going to be doing I think I'm going to, because of the amount of material I want to cover, I may in fact split into definitely 2, maybe even 3 videos, where I talk about telescope optical systems in more depth than I have in any other videos, where I actually get into the formulations on how or rough derivations of the Rayleigh criterion, how you determine the magnitudes of things. But more specifically for professional astronomy, how do you determine things like plate scale, things of that nature? What are the aberrations one would expect by using a certain brand of telescope or a certain type of telescope? So yeah. How to Peter? I'm new to you as well. I actually got introduced to you, I guess, from a debate you did with I think it was Toon, and you were debating with Alan and somebody I didn't know. I'm a professor of astronomy, and as I like to say in my videos, I do videos on astronomy, science skepticism, and mental health. So there are a number of actual astronomy lectures on my channel, which I encourage people to watch if they're interested in it. I definitely want to start targeting that where the lectures are trimmed to the point that they're more easily digestible. They are direct. Something I've always battled with is being concise, but making pointed videos on a specific topic and putting them out there. Right now, the one that is sort of motivated by science skepticism is that I want to do a video deriving Kepler's laws from first principles, from basically the law of gravitation, the laws of motion. Problem I have with that is that it requires a whiteboard. I can't really do it I guess I could try to put a slide deck together, but trying to write equations into slides is no bueno. It's no good. It's not fun. So Russell, yeah, contrary to what my professor or some of my students would have you believe, I am in fact not an astronomer or astrologer. Sorry. But to answer your question, never is a good time to invest in crypto. That would be my take on that. Russell so I like talking about how primer field theory plus biblical cosmology with a firmament. You'll have to forgive me, but I do not know what primer field theory is. I've never heard that expression or that terminology. I do actually have an IPID, and I have given consideration of trying to film myself on it. And I'll give it another shot. I find writing on IPIDs to be big. Like I can't do it very well. I don't feel like I can do it very well. Plus, my arthritis is starting to come back, and so in appropriate left my writing hand. But that is basically the only way that I think I can do it effectively. I do have a lavalier mic, and I do have access to a whiteboard in our conference room. It's more of having people be able to see what I write on the whiteboard because of lighting is a thing. So what I do for equations on slides is write them in LaTeX and use. That's an idea. That's definitely an idea. So what do you do, Peter? I mean, obviously, if you're using LaTeX or tech, you are in some kind of technical field. You can get film that makes IPID screens feel like paper. I will definitely look into that. It could be word salad, but I'm curious to know what it's supposed to mean, or what Russell thinks it means, essentially. Web development. Okay, cool. Yeah, exactly, Clive. It just feels weird. But if Roisin I will look into it. If there is a how do you say it, film that I can put on the screen to make it look, or to make it feel more like actual writing, then I will do it. My writing used to be great. My writing, I was told that I wrote like text or type in a book. It was actually not said as a compliment, but whatever. But my writing has significantly degraded over time. PhD Tony as much value as NFT. I think we should make PhD Tony an NFT, like a meme of Tony into an NFT, and have Dave Weiss, sell it. It's better to try to explain over the phone. Fair enough. Yeah, trying to have conversations in comment sections is, I found to be somewhat problematic, particularly if you want to get into any kind of depth or nuance with that in that conversation. So, yeah, that's kind of, unless someone in the chat has something to discuss, like I said, and I definitely need to get out of here by 7:30 my time, because I'm putting together a 12-inch telescope onto a 12-inch OTA onto a new mount that I hope will permanently live on the roof. We have a couple of 12-inch telescopes. The problem that I have is they will be effectively open to the elements. I don't have a dome for them, but I bought a tarp using Patreon money. Thank you, patrons. It helped to defray the cost. I used Patreon monies to buy or help buy a tarp that is theoretically all weather. And so if it works, if I can get the thing, if the telescope doesn't get ruined, then I will use the university funds to buy 2 more so that the other 12-inch can be set up and the solar telescope can be set up. I don't feel so bad with possibly ruining a 12-inch telescope because we don't use them. The mounts were broken. And so if I break them to the point that it's not usable, we don't actually lose anything except possibly donating it to someone else or God forbid, selling it. I've heard it pronounced LaTeX. I pronounce it LaTeX. I've heard it pronounced LaTeX, probably because to further distinguish it away from latex. But yes. Oh, there's an image you will never get out of my head. PhD uses okay, no. Searches for 90s web searches for latex were risky. Latex, and my love-hate relationship with that powerful tool to create documents. But oh Lord, is it problem? So I'm going to share this with you because I know you're all going to be very interested in this. When I was writing up my thesis or dissertation, I had one table that the columns were so long that it had to be landscape. But the formatting was very strict about page numbering, even though this document was never going to be printed by the university. It was only going to be viewable online. They were very specific about page numbering. The page number had to be in the lower right of the page. And so I know it seems random that I just did that. I'm going to try to keep doing it. So you have the page number had to be down here. If it's landscaped, then if you just have LaTeX do its thing, then the page number is going to be up here. Oh no, God forbid that happen. We're not going to publish your dissertation if you got a page number up here. It literally took me 3 days with Google to figure out how to change the page number for the table only. Those are 3 days I ain't getting back. So fuck that shit. What? Why? No. No. Let's. Yeah. So yeah, that's LaTeX for you. Although I had to say it still certainly beats trying to beat Word into submission in order to write scientific papers. I know biologists do it, which is yet another reason why fucking biologists. I'm kidding. So at least you're not chemists. Anyway, kidding. Yeah. So edit the style class file. I don't remember exactly how I did it. I think I had to, yeah. And I don't know about anybody else, but things get real murky when I start trying to edit the style file. Things seem to go very much awry whenever I try to make any kind of edits to the style file of a document. So yeah, I say so too many times, too often. I think this is it. I'm going to end it here so that I can maybe get a few things. Any physics paper written in Word is an immediate red flag. Basically, amen to that. Anything that has anything to do with math written in Word, immediate red flag. So, astrophysics, physics, cosmology, geophysics, anything. If it's in Word, it's there. Anyway, VI is king. Hold on. I know I said I was going to leave, but really? Do you whip yourself with a nine tails as well? Fuck. I mean, VI for. Do you guys like pain? I mean, okay, all right. Back in the day, I used Emacs because it at least had a functional GUI, but nowadays I use Overleaf whenever I try to write for it. But yeah, VI, Jesus, next you're going to tell me you still use Pine for email. All right. Now I'm really leaving. Thank you all for being here. I am Professor Parks, PhD. I make content on astronomy, science skepticism, and mental health. This video, for those of you who are coming in late, I expressed my viewpoints on, or tried to put more nuance on a previous video that I made about Mr. Duffy. I have also explained why I'm so passionate about the subject, particularly when it comes to young Earth creationism. And yeah, I am more and more of the mind of working with Tony, trying to find a biologist, and making a series of content that demonstrates that young Earth creationism is not scientific, is not supported by any science at all. I have to bring in a biologist because I'm not a biologist. And so, yeah, so I know I could not speak intelligently about evolution at all, but I can speak intelligently about solar physics and solar physics. That's basically solar physics, solar system formation, that sort of thing. So, which is completely contrary to it. If you would like to support the observatory, I am the director of the George Mason Observatory. Please consider becoming a patron of mine. The link's in the description. If you are interested in the NASA mission, we're putting up a satellite we're calling Landell into space in order to revolutionize the accuracy of photometric measurements, which, if our press releases are to be believed, will have direct implications to the study of dark energy. Not really, but it is extremely important work. If you're interested in kind of getting behind the scenes with it and learning about what's going on as we progress, please consider becoming a member of the channel. All of that money goes into my grubby little hands. If you would like to have a conversation with me online or offline about theology, and more specifically about the connection between theology and theology and belief in faith and flat Earth and YEC, then I would love to have that conversation with you. Again, I would love to have it online so that others can watch and get something out of it. But I'm more than happy to speak with you privately about it. And I think that's it. So, yeah, is it a space laser? Funny you should say that. I think it is. If you want to learn more, become a channel member. Oh, wait a minute. Oh, never said my belief was scientific, though. Okay. All right. Oh, Judy, if you're watching this, I actually have the right outro. So, peace out and clear skies.